if we don't live in accordance with our values, there is risk of a cost.
We are being called to stop chasing and actually begin pioneering.
Is that really freedom, by the way, if you're just getting told what to do all the time?
Your greatest currency is your ability to think for yourself. Something that we have been talking a lot about is this concept of leadership. And I think, for Jordan and I, we feel like this is something we're not only being more called into in this season, stepping into our role as a leader. What does that look like? How do we live that out? How do we step into our kind of next phase of leading in our businesses and leading our community? But also, we really want to bring this conversation to you guys because we're living that out, but we feel like this is a larger concept that a lot of entrepreneurs are being called into in this season. I think subconsciously for a long time, we've kind of been just existing in the industry, kind of following the currents of what people are saying, what people are doing. And if we get down to it, we've really been following versus actually leading. And we've been doing this in an attempt to stay on the trends, stay relevant, kind of keep up with what everyone else is doing. But I believe we are entering into a season where we are being called to stop chasing and actually begin pioneering, which, yes, can be lonely, can be a place where you are like, what am I doing? Who am I to be here? Where am I going? And that's why we had the conversation about the wilderness, because when you step into your role as a leader, you're not going to see a lot of people to the left or the right of you. You are literally pioneering. You are paving a new path. You are forging ahead. We are being called in this season to pick up the mantle of leadership. And it isn't for our glory. It isn't about us. I think a lot of times we think about leadership from the perspective of how can I be this authority and really influence people. But leadership isn't really about us at all. It's about the people that we're here to serve, that we're here to guide. So I actually wanted to kick off this conversation by getting to the root of what does leadership actually mean. It's the ability to influence, guide, and inspire others towards a common vision, goal, or purpose. It's less about authority or position and more about the capacity to create movement, shape culture, and draw out the best in others. It's not about us. It's not about how we're positioned, how much of an authority we look like. It's really about being in service of the people around you. In this season, we just want to call you out from the crowd. We want to call you out of this state of blending in, saying that you want to stand out, but still doing what everyone else is doing, saying what everyone else is saying, kind of being on these general bandwagons. Your industry doesn't need more followers. They got plenty of those people out there. And that's okay because we all follow in a season, right? You have to follow before you can lead. So that's an important note as well. And that's not to shame you if you've been in a season of following what other people are doing. But this is a moment where we're calling you out, calling you higher and into this role because it's going to be important not only for you to be fulfilled, for you to live out the work that you're meant to do, live out your calling, but also for you to be in service of the people around you.
Mm. And man, service is just such a big theme for us this season of the podcast, but this season at large, that is just so heavy on our hearts. I'm sure that many of you are also feeling that pull as well. I just feel like we're being called to a deeper level of service. And I also just really want to highlight the identity piece right here at the top of you may be a business owner and maybe you've had that title for a while now, or you call yourself a business owner or an entrepreneur, but how many of us are really standing in our identity as a leader? Do you think that you're a leader? Do you believe that you're a leader? And I believe, at least right now, and maybe my mind will shift on this, I don't know, but I believe that even if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you're a leader of something. You're leading something. Even if you don't feel like you're a leader, I believe that you're in charge of your business. So you are therefore the leader. If you're an entrepreneur or maybe you're running multiple businesses at the same time or side hustles, it's you're leading all of these things. And I think the title of leader feels so big and heavy, or maybe we're just like, that doesn't feel like me. Like that's too much.
That's
like
scary.
that's scary. Like that's too much. That's doing too much. I'm just a business owner, or I'm just this, or I'm just that. But I think that we've been feeling that pull to like really step into this identity of being a leader. And what does that mean? What does that cost us? What does that come with? What responsibility does that come with? And almost like calling you higher into a new standard of like, you're not just a business owner, you're leading something. We really were thinking about this idea of the mantle of leadership. And when I was looking into what a mantle is, I just was like, it's just such a beautiful image. A mantle is a cloak or a shawl. And it's something that, you know, women wore back in the day. I don't think we usually use that word mantle in that context anymore. But I think it's so relevant because I really do think we almost like clothe ourselves in leadership. And there's some of you listening to this right now that I know maybe this feels like such a big thing and maybe it feels overwhelming, but maybe on the inside you're like, I know that's me. Like, I know I need to pick up this mantle and wear it. Like, I know I need to pick it up and put it on and never take it off. And I just hope that right now in this day moving forward that you would pick up that mantle, put it on your shoulders and wear it proudly and move forward knowing that that's part of who you are. I believe that. So
yeah, I think we're so quick to say I'm an entrepreneur or I'm a business owner, but we don't often say I'm a leader. That definitely has a different connotation. I think it also speaks more closely to your identity than the title of business owner or entrepreneur. When you say that you're a leader, that speaks to the caliber of person that you are, that speaks to your identity. And sometimes we're afraid to own something like that. We're afraid to put that mantle on because we know that it doesn't just come with blessing and promotion, but it comes with responsibility. It comes with you're not only leading yourself, but you're leading people around you. You as a leader are going to shoulder blame. You're going to take risk. There's a lot of weight that comes with that title. But at the same time, there's also so much reward. And like I said, I feel like there are so many people who have been in this cycle of just following what other people are saying, doing what other people are doing, whether that's how you're marketing your business, that's how you're building your offers, that's how you're planning to grow and scale. But actually, you are your own unique human being with your own intelligence, your own wisdom. And it's time to start thinking for yourself. It's time to start pioneering instead of chasing what everyone else is doing. Not only does that lead to more fulfillment for you, but it genuinely helps you more powerfully serve the people around you. You might even be someone who is letting your clients guide in your containers. And it's why you're burnt out, you're tired of the clients that you're working with. There are no boundaries in place because you're uncomfortable with the responsibility that comes with leading, with guiding, with steering the ship. Because it does come with responsibility. But in this season, people that learn how to think for themselves, people who learn how to and actively choose to put on the mantle of leadership, you are going to be the one who is set apart, standing out, serving profoundly in 6 to 12 months. Because let me tell you, there are so many people who are not thinking for themselves. They're relying on their coach, they're relying on AI, they're using automations, and all of those things can be good. But you also, in the midst of all of these incredible tools, need to learn how to think for yourself, need to learn how to lead yourself. How are you leading yourself? How are you picking up this mantle and taking on and embodying this identity of a leader first before you choose to actively lead anyone else around you?
To add to that, pioneering creates peace in us. Pioneering, this idea of like, you know, leading, it sounds strenuous and scary. And I think that there are certain things that, yes, like will challenge you. Like, I think one big element of stepping into your identity as a leader is taking on more responsibility and being okay with that responsibility. That's a heavy thing, yes. But I think on the path of pioneering and going your own way, I think there's peace in that because you're not chasing what everyone else is doing. You're not chasing and striving. You're on your path that is meant for you. And it might feel lonely at times. And yeah, there might be things that you have to navigate, challenging things that you have to navigate through that. But I think it leads to so much peace as well. I think so many of us have been caught up chasing, following what everyone else is doing. And we feel it in our spirit that like, this isn't right. And we feel tension and we feel all the bad things. We feel the anxiety, we feel the stress, we feel confused or conflicted. But I think on this path of pioneering and leading, and when you take on this mantle of leadership, there's peace for you there.
There's peace there because it's your path. There's a grace for what you are meant to do when you're on your path. When you are operating in opposition to your path, you're on someone else's path, there's more friction, there's more tension, there's a requirement for more force and push and striving. But when you're on your own path, there's peace there and there's more success there. Mm-hmm. There's less friction, less tension, because that's where you're meant to be and what you're meant to be doing. That is part of leadership. Being willing to slow down enough to hear your own thoughts again. Listen to your own voice again. Trust yourself again, maybe for the first time in a long time. And use your brilliant brain, use your wisdom in the way that you're structuring your business, in the way that you're running your business. There's so much fruit on the other side of that.
Leadership really begins with us. It begins with the self. I really feel like you can't lead other people well, or you can't lead your vision well. You can't lead a team well if you don't know how to lead you. I want to talk about discipline because I think it's a very key element to leadership, and it's a foundational element. Discipline is defined as the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience. I like this definition because I think it just paints a full picture of what discipline actually is. Discipline is about acting in accordance with your values. I think if we just make it real simple, you act in accordance with your values, with the code of behavior, with the rules that you've set for yourself. I also want to point to that last part of the definition because I think it's important that we understand that if we don't abide by the standards we've set for ourselves, or we don't live in accordance with our values, that there is risk of a cost. This definition implies that we first train ourselves, that there's a standard or code of behavior that we should live by, and there's a potential cost that comes when you deviate from that standard. I think so often it's so easy to live our lives and maybe even lead our businesses from a state of just living from our feelings or letting our impulses guide us. Like sometimes we might, not want to host a training that we said we were going to host, or we're not going to do this because my energy is too low and I just don't feel like it. Or we act out of impulse and we're like, I'm going to go launch this new course that I just came up with because, other people are doing it. It sounds like a really good idea. I really like this idea. And maybe it'll help me really hit my income goals for the year. Let me just do that. So we act out of either feelings or impulses when we need to discipline ourselves to live in accordance with our values, to lead in accordance with our values no matter what, because there is a cost if we don't. And I think a good example might be that if you don't live in accordance with your values, you might risk losing trust with your people. Any trust that you might have built goes out the window because you're maybe too flighty. You live off of your emotions and your feelings, and you never discipline yourself to just stay the course. Just staying the path is actually a form of discipline. It's like I'm staying on my path. I'm disciplining myself to stay on this path and do the things that I said I was going to do. Follow this path forward even when distractions come up, even when I feel like pulled this way and that way, or even when my thoughts are saying one thing or my feelings are saying one thing. I'm going to stay on this path. I'm going to pick up the mantle of leadership. Even if I've put it down, I'm going to pick it back up and I'm going to remind myself of who I am and I'm going to stay this path. I think that's a good way to look at discipline in this sense. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about like discipline in a harsh sense. It's like, hey, let's just have this set of standards that we live by and let's actually do what we say we're going to do and let's live by that standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people start their businesses and they come from a background where maybe they've burnt out a lot. And so what that means when you start your business is you are all of a sudden like, I get to make my schedule. I get to do whatever it is that I want to do. I have flexibility and freedom, and those are beautiful things. But if you also don't have discipline in that world of freedom, nothing's gonna get done. And eventually you will be in this habit of letting your entire business run off of your feelings, off of your impulses. And also as women, we have the layer of just our emotional makeup. We're in touch with our feelings all the time. Jordan and I are in touch with our feelings. We know what that looks like. And if we allow that to be the environment that we make our decisions from, that we take our actions from, we will lose respect from people around us because we're not staying the course. We're not doing what we said we would do. And I think that there may even be some people listening to this right now where you subconsciously haven't had a respect or a reverence for your business. It's almost like you're trying to downplay it and make it small. And in turn, you're not taking it very seriously. When someone asks what you do, it's, I have a little business. I do this little thing. Little, get her out of here. I just do this thing. No, get that out of here. How do you help people? What do you do? If you're an entrepreneur, you have a lot of sacrifice that comes with that. You need to own what it is that you do. You better own that. And I think a lot of people downplay what they do because there's, kind of some insecurity there. When you're doing your own thing, when you're leading. You're the one on the stage. You're the one out on the ship in the middle of the storm. And so there's a part of you that has to be refined for that confidence to rise up. But I want you to start practicing when people ask you what you do. Respond confidently. Project power and authority. Embody who you are as a leader. Carry that identity. And start practicing having a reverence for your business. When you start looking at your business as an extension of your calling, you will take it a lot more seriously because you will then think, today, as I show up for client calls, as I show up on Instagram, as I do whatever it is that I'm doing, I am living out my calling, the work that I feel compelled, convicted, committed to doing. It is a part of my assignment. And so I'm going to show up powerfully to do that. When you start having a reverence for your work, discipline comes easier because you have something to get rooted in. You have something that you value so deeply. And some of you need to get to the root of what is your business offering to you? How is it an extension of your calling? What are those deeper convictions that you have that you can get rooted in, that you can get anchored in? Because that is something worth being disciplined for. If it's just, it's a little side hustle and I have a couple $100 that come in and it's just, it's kind of like this little thing. First of all, if you do want a side hustle, if you only want to make a car payment based off of what you're making from your business, great. Own that. Project more power from that. But also, you've got to go deeper into the real meaning, the real conviction behind what it is that you're doing. In that case, additional financial freedom. I get to provide and I get to contribute to my family financially. That is something you can hold on to. That's a conviction. It's not a little couple $100 that I'm going to make and it's just going to be fun. That is something that you're not going to be willing to be disciplined for versus the other thing. I'm waking up, I'm contributing financially for my family this month. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to prioritize the habits to make that happen. You'll move differently. You'll think differently because you're actually bought into what you're doing. It's a big deal in your mind because you're convicted in your spirit that you're meant to do it.
Amen. Snaps for that. Whew. Well, to that point of thinking about maybe some of us that don't take our business seriously. I mean, think of it maybe right now it's more of a side hustle, but think about your business as what if this was your only livelihood? What if this is the only way that you can live and eat and fuel your life is from this business? How much more seriously would you take it? It would be waking up every day all right, I'm going to sell. I'm going to do everything that I can do because this is a serious thing. I think some of us are not taking it seriously. We're too lax in our business and we don't
One foot in, one foot out. We're not committed.
Yeah.
We kind of have a plan B, plan C. Get rid of those extra plans. If you're meant to do this, if you're actually saying that you're going to do it, if you're saying this is something you want to do, commit and go do it.
Yeah.
Our dad wrote a book called Sell or Don't Eat. And that was literally his motto when he first started selling. I better get out and I better sell some contracts or my wife and I aren't going to be eating. So it's incredible when you hear stories of people who are pushed up against the wire. They gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like you just figure it out because you have to. Like I had my baby. I can't return him. He here now. I had to figure it out. So I'm not saying that you need to put yourself in a position where like, you know, there's no options and you're under all this pressure, but start taking it a little bit more seriously. When you take it seriously, you're going to be more disciplined in how you show up in your business. And that's going to benefit you. You're going to grow, but also it says so much to the people around you. I am such a big stickler for if I say I'm going to do something, I have a really hard time not doing that thing. Even if there is like a great reason for why I shouldn't be able to do that thing, like maybe my kid is sick, something happens. There's obviously those situations where that does happen, but I am a big, big believer in sticking to your word, especially when it is something that you've said through your business to your community. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Don't be late. Actually follow up with people when you say you're going to follow up with people. Like these are very small things that like aren't a big deal, but they kind of are in our society because everyone's just so like willy-nilly. In our industry too, everyone's just kind of like, we're just floating around. We're just freaking like floating around like butterflies and like letting the day take us wherever we want to go. We're not committed. We're just kind of riding out the current of the industry. But like, what would happen if you like went against the grain and if you like committed to the things that you actually value and the things that you say you want to do? How would you move differently? What would you wake up in the morning thinking? What would that look like? And then therefore, how would your community then perceive you and be served by that?
And to add to that, that just builds so much integrity. Like you saying you show up when you say you're going to show up and people trust that. Like that builds so much trust between you and your people when you actually just do what you say you're going to do. It's as simple as that. And like trust is the foundation for all of our client relationships. Like for someone to want to work with you, they have to trust you. I think it's far too easy for us to just make excuses for ourselves for why we may not want to do something. And this is why discipline is such a good foundation. Like this is what everything else is built upon. I was just thinking too about women and our cycles and how sometimes we can use that as an excuse or like a scapegoat to not have to do something we said we were going to do. And it's something I'm actually really trying to learn for myself right now because I think I've done this absolutely when I'm like in my luteal phase, I'm in the throes, I'm in the thick of it. I'm trying to just survive. Like I'm dealing with anxiety and depression and all this crap. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't show up here. I can't do this. I can't work out like I want to because I'm just in my luteal phase. And I'm like, that's something that's always bothered me about myself. As something I've always tried to avoid with this is like, yes, I might be aware that I am in my luteal phase and yes, I might have these symptoms, but I don't want to use it as an excuse to get out of something. I don't want to use it as an excuse for bad behavior, for me to like lash out at someone. Like that's inexcusable. And just really trying to hold myself to a higher standard when it comes to that. And like recently, I mean, hey, I'll just admit right now I'm in my luteal phase. And I was a little bit nervous leading up to recording for the podcast because sometimes my luteal phase, I get really anxious and I sometimes deal with anxiety or depression, either or. And I was like, I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm not going to let that dictate me and what I do or what I don't do. And I've been disciplining my body just in the recent weeks because I know it's coming up because I'm, my mind's very regimented. I know what to expect. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I'm eating healthy because that's a really big component. I know that when I don't eat super healthy, it affects my, hormones and all that jazz. And I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to work out. And I'm going to push myself to just work out even when I don't want to. And I've been doing that the past couple of weeks just to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success because I know this about myself. And I don't want to use my luteal phase as an excuse, or I don't want to use my period as an excuse to like get out of something. Like I want to press on and push through that. Now, I'm not saying that like I'm not a hormone therapist or expert or anything. So it's like I'm not trying to give you advice when it comes to that, but I just want to like let's raise the standard of like what standard are we going to set for ourselves, and are we going to use these things as an excuse? And if you know that you've been using that as an excuse in your life, you'll know. Like, I think you'll feel it in your heart and in your spirit. It's like, yeah, maybe I have been using that as a cop out. And if you have, that's fine. But moving forward, like, how can we avoid that? Like, I just never want to let my cycle affect how I show up in business and in my job. And like, yes, there's certain times in my cycle where I'm feeling more productive and I'm feeling good. And so I do take advantage of that. And I try to crank out as much as I can during that time. So there is an ebb and flow to that. But like, I just want to raise the bar, and like, let's not use that as an excuse. Like, let's act out of discipline. Let's live in accordance with our values, no matter what. And let's keep on that path. Like, it's not an excuse for you to like, you know, be flighty and cancel all your calls and whatever. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Yeah, and I think there's definitely an ebb and flow to that. I mean, there was a season of my life where I wasn't a mom and I had a lot more time, space, and energy every day to dedicate to my business. So I could actually work with my cycle a lot more. I could batch some of these more intensive tasks and things like podcasting, ideating, this like heavy creation. I could do that in a phase where it made sense. Now my time is so limited, and some of my clients will ask like, what do I do whenever like I don't feel like energetic or I'm in my luteal phase? I'm like, girl, I mean, you got to get it done. I mean, if it's like, you know, if it's something that's important, if it's something you said you're going to do for a client, or you're hosting a training for your community and you've been promoting it, I mean, you got to kind of do it. That's like my response to that. Like, and same for me now, like I've got to do a lot of things when I don't feel like doing them because my time is so much more restricted. My time has massively diminished since having a child. And that's where discipline comes in. It's so important. It's remembering that what you value is more important than what you feel. Your values, those convictions that are leading you in your business, matter more than what you feel in the present. It's different if you're sick. It's different if there's extenuating circumstances, okay? Like, we get that. But it's just to make a point and to use that as an example. It's important to not only discipline your actions in your business, but it's important to discipline like your body and your mind as well as a leader.
Yeah.
Like, what's taking up residence in your mind? How are you thinking? Do you have a mindset of abundance? Do you have a mindset of lack? What are the thoughts that are taking up residence in your mind? How are you taking care of your body? Are you moving? Are you actually nourishing yourself? These are things that are actually foundations for how you show up in your business. But you not only discipline your actions in your business, you discipline your entire being, your entire body, mind, and soul.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you discipline your thoughts, just quick example, yesterday, I was like, I could probably just not work out today. Like, I worked out yesterday, and tomorrow I'm planning to do this other workout, so I can just skip it. But I literally, like, I took hold of that thought, and I was like, I said I was going to do this, and I don't care how I'm feeling right now. I'm going to do it anyway. And so I did a workout. Sometimes you got to swoop in and, like, correct your thought pattern. And, like, if your thoughts are leading to you making excuses or leading you where you don't need to go, it's like, hey, you got to discipline your mind just as well as your body. So
yeah, your thoughts are always going to try and keep you in a place of comfort. It's biology. Your thoughts and your feelings are going to want to keep you in a state of comfort in the present moment. But for you in that example, you knew, I'm in my luteal phase. Moving helps me actually feel better. And I don't feel like doing this right now, but I know that I need to do it. It might not be the comfortable thing. It might not be the exciting thing that feels like great, but I know that I need to do it. Along with discipline being that firm foundation that really everything is built upon, another thing that I really wanted to talk about today is the concept of self-government. Y'all already know we got a definition coming. We're just walking freaking dictionaries at this point. Self-governance is the ability to direct, regulate, and take responsibility for yourself, your actions, choices, and growth without needing constant external control. Self-governance is basically leadership of yourself. You cannot lead others if you are not willing to first lead yourself. And there are a lot of people out there trying to lead movements, lead people, and they actually haven't lived out leading themselves, or they aren't actively living that out. And it shows, it's felt whenever you're fickle, when you don't show up, when you don't do the thing that you said you're going to do, even if it's small things. But if we can't lead ourselves, if we can't hold ourselves accountable to the values that we have, to what we say we're going to do, how are we going to help other people grow? As a leader, I believe that your greatest currency is your ability to think for yourself. Entrepreneurs are being stripped of this ability because there's so much convenience available. And instead of using these things as tools, we're letting them take over. Your mentors, AI, automations, all of these things can be leveraged as tools in your tool belt, but they aren't meant to be the anchor of what is leading you forward and taking over your responsibility to think for yourself. I see this happening a lot where people are just trying to outsource all of the responsibilities. Like, we're outsourcing our decision making to our coaches and our mentors. We're outsourcing our voice to AI. We're outsourcing that human touch for automations, freaking top to bottom, everywhere in our business, to the point where we aren't touching anything. And our clients like, where's a person? Where is the human? We're essentially trying to outsource our way to the freedom we want, but in the process, we're really sacrificing our assignment and the work that we're here to do, part of which is to lead. And what I believe it really boils down to is that we are not comfortable with responsibility. Taking on that mantle of leadership is heavy. It isn't easy. There's a reason why not many people do it. You're actually in the minority if you're a business owner. It's not the easy path. It's not like, always fun and glamorous. It's hard. And leadership is one of those things. And I think so often this is a subconscious thing that happens. It's not like we're consciously walking around saying, I just want to outsource my entire business to someone else. Maybe you've said that, but that's not really likely happening. It's a subconscious thing that's happening where we are uncomfortable with responsibility, and so we're just handing everything over to everyone, to every tool, and we think that that's just going to make us feel like we're more free. But freedom comes with responsibility. And the more your business grows, the more and more and more it needs a leader, and the more and more and more responsibility you're going to actually have.
Freedom comes at a cost. It always does. Freedom comes at a cost. It comes at a sacrifice. I think we're just not willing to pay that cost. I think we just want it to be easier. I mean, man, everyone wants everything to be easy, and I get it. Like, when we all love for our lives to just be easy all the time, but that's just not the case. And like, running a business, leading your business is not going to be easy. It can be simple, maybe, but it's not going to be easy. Like, to take on the responsibility, to actually think for yourself, to make decisions that are either going to help your business succeed or fail. That's heavy. That is a heavy weight. And I think that's part of why people don't want to take on this responsibility, to make their own decisions. Maybe why some people want to outsource their thoughts, their decisions to their coaches and mentors, because if they were the ones to make those choices, then they have to be held responsible for if it works out or if it doesn't. I think it's a subconscious thing we're not aware of, but we're going to coaches or mentors and we're asking them, what would you do here? And we're not even willing to think for ourselves or make our own decisions about what I want to do for my business. So you just outsource that to someone else, ask them their opinion, ask them to tell you what to do. Is that really freedom, by the way? If you're just getting told what to do all the time, like, are you a free agent? Like, are you a free person? Just side note, but you're asking someone else to make these big decisions for you or small decisions, and you're kind of offloading the responsibility because it's like, hey, if it doesn't work out, well, they're the ones that made that call. It wasn't really me. I think it's a subconscious thing. Again, like, I don't think people are consciously doing this, but I think that's part of the problem is we want to shirk the responsibility, give it to someone else. And then if it doesn't work out, well, it wasn't really my fault,
Yeah, we don't want to carry the weight that comes if things don't pan out. We'd love to have a scapegoat. We'd love to have someone to blame.
Yeah.
And your growth in business, it's always going to be capped at your comfort level with responsibility. If you aren't comfortable with carrying a lot of responsibility, then don't expect to grow to that place. I think a lot of times we have this idea that one day we're just going to like outsource everything in our business and it's just going to be like the easiest thing in the world. I'm going to be living on a beach somewhere, barely touching anything, and it's not going to feel heavy. But the truth is that it doesn't matter how much you grow. It doesn't matter how many team members you have. The more you grow, your business will always feel heavy in a sense. It can be simple. It can be streamlined. You don't have to be in the weeds of it, but it comes with a weight. It comes with a cost. Like all blessing and abundance comes with some element of weightiness because there's responsibility that accompanies it. I think about our dad. He was having a Christmas party at his company one year, and my papa, they used to work together. My papa was there, and they were standing there looking out at all their team members, all the people they employ, which was about 100 people at the time. And my papa said, "Can you believe that you're responsible for all of their livelihoods, their families?" And my dad was like, "Dude, way to kill the mood, man." I mean, my goodness. Like he's having a jolly old time. Like we're freaking singing Christmas songs. And then my papa just drops that in his lap. And it's like, wow, 100 people working for you. You've got managers, you've got salespeople. You're at the top of the top there. And the responsibility and the heaviness that comes with that, his name was on their paychecks. And if they couldn't hit certain revenue markers in their business, people were going to get paid. People were going to get laid off. That is a heavy load. And that is a prime example because you can grow and you can have the team and you can do all the things, but there will always be a weightiness that comes with it because you're the leader. Nobody will do that for you. You can never outsource that.
Ownership and responsibility are such big elements of leadership, and we have to be willing to take responsibility for the outcomes of our actions. Like we have to first learn to think for ourselves, learn to make decisions for ourselves, and we have to take the responsibility for those outcomes. And I think that this is where humility comes in. That's a foundational element of leadership is humility. You can technically lead something in a very prideful and arrogant way, but people probably won't like you. And do we really want to be prideful and arrogant? I think that humility is just such a core aspect to good leadership. Like we all love a good humble person and a good humble leader. Humility means a modest or low view of one's own importance. And I think it's important to note here that I am not saying we think less of ourselves, that we think lowly of ourselves, that, we're just self-deprecating. That's not what humility is. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. I want to go to the Latin, like to the root word for humility, because I thought this was such beautiful imagery. But humility comes from the Latin word humilis, which means lowly or grounded. And it is connected to a Latin word humus, which means earth or soil. And I just think that's such a beautiful image because I think that's what humility is all about. It's like getting grounded and rooted, so that you're not elevated above other people, but you're also not low in the ground, self-deprecating, just like thinking so low of yourself. But it's like you see yourself accurately and you are like, you have a modest view of yourself,
I love that visual of like going low and like serving your people. And I've been thinking a lot about creating like a rich experience for our community and almost like you're rolling out the red carpet. And like you're treating them as though they're royalty before they ever even sign up to work with you. This can apply to your marketing, can apply to your sales process, to your client experience, but like actually picturing yourself as someone who is serving royalty and thinking highly, so highly of the people in front of you, whether they're just following you on Instagram, they're on your email list, they're in a sales conversation with you, or they're someone who signed on to work with you. I think we need to think less about ourselves and how we're being perceived, how we're positioned, what we look like, what people are thinking about us. Just forget all of that and think about the people that you're here to serve. What is it that they're experiencing? What is it that they need? Taking more of an empathetic approach where you seek to see the people in front of you and give them a rich experience with your brand. How are you here to serve? And go low and make it less about you. And that just frees you so much in business when you make it less about you. It's like, it is not all about you. Like, really, your business is here to serve people, to provide a solution. And that is so freeing, because then you can let go of all of that pressure to try and prove and be and push, because it's not about that. It's about your people. And so operating in humility is such a beautiful way to act that out, because it's not about you anymore. It's about them.
Yeah. The path of leadership is a simple path. It may not be easy. And this whole discussion, it's like we're talking about discipline, and that might not feel good all the time. We're talking about self-governance. That requires responsibility. We're talking about humility, which requires you to leave pride behind. There's maybe difficult elements of it, but I think at the core, it's a simple path. And I think that it can lead to a lot of peace, and instead of living in stress and turmoil because you're just following what everyone else is doing. And when you step into that role of being a leader and you carry the mantle of leadership, it may not always be easy, but I think it can be simple.
Yeah, it may be heavy. It might be a heavy load. That's just the nature of being a leader. That's the nature of being in business. But it's a purposeful path. It's your path. And there's so much peace and freedom in that. We just encourage you to start identifying as the leader that you are, and start practicing behind closed doors when no one is looking, leading yourself, actually thinking for yourself, disciplining your daily habits, humbling yourself, all when no one is looking. Practice what it feels like to carry that load and that weight of responsibility that comes when you lead. Have a reverence for what you do. Take it seriously. And then you will be equipped to serve those in front of you, to lead them, to guide them to a destination, and to help them experience the transformation that it is that they're seeking.